Here's the review for your exponents test. All the rules are at the top. You'll be provided with the rules during your test with the formula sheet, but you need to show all your work to get credit. Number 1, you're going to simplify, then write your answer in the blank. X to the negative 3. If you have a negative exponent and it's in the top, this whole thing is over 1. You're not going to flip it. You're just going to move this to the bottom. So the only thing left in the numerator is 1 over. When you move the variable in the exponent becomes positive. So 1 over x to the positive 3. Number 2, 3ab to the negative 2. So 3 has a positive exponent of 1, a has a positive exponent of 1. When you separate your terms, b is the only negative exponent. So b is the only one that's going to move to the bottom. 3 and a will stay on top. So 3a, b, and the exponent is 2. Number 3, 5 exponent 1, m exponent negative 3. So since it has a negative exponent, I know it's moving to the bottom, n to the negative 4. Again, negative exponents move from the top to the bottom. Since 5 has a positive 1 exponent, it's going to stay exactly where it is. So I draw my fraction, 5 over m to the positive 3, n to the positive 4. Once you move the variable in the exponent becomes positive. Number 4, 2y to the negative 3. 2 has a positive exponent, y has a negative exponent, so you're going to move y to the bottom. 2 stays in the numerator, so 2 over y cubed. Number 5, you apply the rule that's there. So when I see multiplication, the rule for multiplication says I will add the exponents. So I'm adding the exponents for y. So y 8 plus 3, y to the 11th power. Number 6, so when you look at this, it is the multiplication rule. When you see parentheses and you don't see an exponent on the outside that you need to distribute, you're going to go back and say parentheses mean to multiply. You're going to multiply the numbers in front and add the exponents for your variables. So for 3 and negative 2, you're going to multiply those numbers. For k, you're going to add the exponents. So k exponent 2 plus 3. For p, you're going to add your exponents, exponent 2 plus 1. If you do not see an exponent, it's understood to be a 1. So when you simplify that, 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. K, the exponent, is going to be a positive 5. 2 plus 3 is 5. And p, the exponent, is a positive 3. You do not need to move the negative 6. The negative 6 has a positive 1 exponent. So everything stays exactly the way it is. Number 7, you have b to the 3rd power, and all of this is being raised to the 3rd. So this is power to a power. When you have a power raised to another power, the rule is to multiply. You multiply your exponents here. So you're taking b and you're multiplying the exponent. 3 times 3. So this should be b to the 9th power. Number 8, there's 2 rules here. When you see an exponent on the outside, you are going to distribute and multiply. So the exponent for 2 is 1. You're multiplying the exponent. So multiply exponents. It's not multiplying 2 times 2. It's 2 exponent 1 times exponent 2. And then you multiply the exponent with 3. So 2 exponent 1 times 2, x exponent 3 times 2. That's for this first piece. The second piece also has another part on the outside of the parentheses. So when you look at this problem, number 8, you have to take each piece at a time. So now you're going to distribute the exponent of 1/2. You're going to distribute the exponent to 1/2 to 16. So it's 1 times 1/2. You're going to distribute the exponent for 1/2 to 3 and distribute the exponent for 1/2 to 6. Again, you're going to multiply your exponents here. So you're taking 16 exponent 1 times 1/2. You're taking m exponent 3 times 1/2. You're taking n exponent 6 times 1/2. You're multiplying each of those variables by 1/2. And again, you get rid of the parentheses because in the end, all of this is multiplication in between each term. So you simplify. 2 exponent 1 times 2, whether you understand, you can use a calculator or you can simplify that by hand. So 2 exponent 1 times 2 is going to be 2 squared. So when you grab your calculator, you're going to go to 2 exponent. You can do 1 times 2, or you can just say exponent 2 squared is 4. So this changes to 4. X is going to be 3 times 2, so x to the 6th power. 16, when you take 16 to the 1/2, 16 exponent 1 times 1/2, which is 16 to the 1/2. It's going to be 4. So you have times, and then this is 4 times m to the 3rd power times 1/2. So 3 times 1/2. And you don't put m, you're multiplying just the numbers. So 3/2. So m to the 3/2. It's okay to have a fraction for your exponent. And you're going to take 6 times 1/2. 6 times 1/2, times 1/2. Is like dividing it by 2. So 6 times 1/2 is 3. So n to the 3rd power. So again, this is all multiplication. You're not done yet. What you have to do is realize when you have multiplication, you're going to multiply the numbers. So if you have 4 times 4, you're going to do exactly what it says. 4 times 4. You put those together by multiplying them. X to the 6th power, there's nothing that you can combine the exponents with, so you bring it down. M to the 3/2, there's nothing you can combine it with, so you bring it straight down. N to the 3rd power, nothing you can combine it with, so you bring it straight down. So you're really just simplifying 4 times 4. Since 4 times 4 is 16, you have 16 x to the 6th power, m to the 3/2, n to the 3rd power as your final answer. And this would go on the blank. 16x to the 6th, m to the 3/2, n to the 3rd power. Final answer. So it took 2 steps. Multiplying your exponents and then combining the like terms, which were your constants or your coefficients. Number 9. You have the division rule, so when you use a division rule, you're going to subtract the exponents, but you're going to divide the numbers in front. So this says 12 divided by 9. When you divide that in the calculator, it's 4/3. So it automatically separates your answer for you. Now you're going to take your variables. You're going to take your variables and subtract. X to the 6th power minus a -3. You have to recognize that that's a minus and negative, so it's going to change to a plus. Then you're going to take y, and you're going to subtract the exponent. It's going to be 2 minus 1. Then you're going to take z and subtract the exponents, -5 minus a -4. Again, minus and negative is going to change to a plus. So z to the 6th power plus 3, or x to the 6th power plus 3 is going to be x to the 9th power. Y to the 2 minus 1 is going to just be y. When you take z to the -5 plus 4, -5 plus 4 is a -1. So since this is a negative, it's going to move to the bottom and become a positive value. Z to the +1. So this is going to be your final answer. So since this z to the negative 1, you move it to the bottom. That's exactly what we did there. All right, number 10. Number 10, there's going to be 2 steps here. So when you look at this 2-step process, you take the numerator first. So let's look at the numerator. The numerator is your multiplication rule. For your multiplication rule, you're going to take your numbers and you're going to multiply your numbers. So 20 times 2 is going to be 40. And then for your variables, you're going to add your exponents. So you're going to take k, 7 plus 3, 10, over negative 4, k to the 4th power. So first you add your exponents in the numerator. Second, you're going to subtract for division rule. So now you're going to take your constants or your coefficients. 40 divided by negative 4 is going to be negative 10. You're dividing those numbers, and now you subtract your exponents. You're taking k to the 10th power minus 4, so k to the 6th power. Again, negative 10 has a positive 1 exponent. You don't change anything. Number 11, you have n to the 6th power, and all of this is raised to the 0 power. So go back to your rules. Anything to the 0 power is equal to 1. So when you even distribute this using your rule, n to the 6 times 0 is still n to the 0 power, which equals 1. Number 12, you have 6 on the outside of your parentheses, so that's the first thing you're going to bring down because you're not going to do anything with it. When you have a power to a power, you're going to multiply your exponents to each term inside the parentheses. You don't multiply anything to the 6, only to what's inside the parentheses. So you're taking x to the 3rd power times 2, you're taking y to the 5th power times 2, and z to the 9th power times 2. From here you simplify. You should bring down your 6 again, x to the 6th power, y to the 10th power, and z to the 18th. So 6x to the 6th, y to the 10th, z to the 18th. Number 13, you have c to the 18th divided by 4. When it is division, you subtract your exponents, so c to the 18th minus 4 is c to the 14th power. Number 14, you're going to do exactly what's there for the coefficients. So you have 24 divided by 12. Divide that out first. You get 2. Then you subtract your exponents for your variables. So it's p to the 9th power minus 5, q to the 3rd power minus 3. So 2p to the 4th power. And then q is going to go to the 0 power, which equals 1. So it's going to completely go away. Number 15, you have negative 4, a to the 3rd, b to the 6th, and all of it's raised to the 2nd power. So you have negative 4 to the 1st power. You're going to distribute and multiply your exponents. So you multiply exponents. Please don't tell me negative 4 squared is 8. Negative 4 squared is negative 4 times negative 4. So you're going to take negative 4, since it's in parentheses, and take the exponent 1 times 2. You're going to take a to the 3rd power and multiply it times 2. You're going to take b to the 6th power and multiply it times 2. And then you simplify. This piece, you can use your calculator. So please do not make the mistake of doing this in your head because you see a negative 4 and a 2 and you multiply negative 4 times 2. It's negative 4 in parentheses. And you're raising it to the exponent 1 times 2, or negative 4 squared. Negative 4 squared is a positive 16 because it's negative 4 times negative 4. So negative 4 squared is 16. A, 3 times 2 is 6. B, 6 times 2 is 12. So 16, a to the 6th, b to the 12th power. 16, you have 3 s cubed v to the 5th times negative 2 sv to the 3rd. all of that's raised to the third power. So the first thing you need to do is this piece right here. All of this will come straight down. So you have 3s to the third, v to the fifth power. You're going to take this -2 to the first and multiply the exponents. You're going to take s to the first and multiply the exponent, v to the third and multiply the exponents. So we're going to take -2. When you multiply the exponent 1 times 3, it's -2 cubed. S, when you multiply your exponent 1 times 3, it's s to the third. When you multiply the exponent for v, it's v to the ninth. 3 times 3 is 9. Now we need to simplify. When you look at this, we're done multiplying exponents. Now this is all multiplication between the terms. So you go back to the multiplication rule. Now you're going to add your exponents. So if you have 3 and you have -2 cubed, you're going to put those together and multiply them. You can multiply them in steps, or if you know what this is, then just multiply it with 3. You can do this all together. Again, you can take 3 times -2, and the exponent is 3. You're going to get -24, and the reason for that is -2 cubed, -2 raised to the third power is -8. -8 times 3 is -24. -8 times 3 is -24. So whether you do it in pieces, you need to understand that you're multiplying those two to get -24. Now you're taking s to the third power and s to the third power and adding your exponents. So s to the sixth power. Now you're taking v to the fifth power plus v to the ninth power. So v to the 14th power. And that should be your final answer. Last, number 17, you're going to look at this problem and you're going to see two things. A -4 on the outside of the parentheses, so it's going to come straight down. And then you have the exponent 2 on the outside, so you're only distributing and multiplying 2 times exponent 1 and 2 times exponent 4. So you're taking 3, exponent 1 times 2 is squared, x, exponent 4 times 2 is 8. And now you need to simplify, whether you understand that 3 squared is 9, and then you'd multiply it by -4 to be -36, or you can put this whole piece in your calculator. Remember, you can multiply numbers in your calculator and then bring down the -8. So again, if you put it in the calculator, it should be -4, and then in parentheses 3, exponent 2. You're going to get -36. So -36 x to the 8th power. All right, next page. For number 18, you have 3 terms and it's all multiplication, so you're going to take your coefficients here, your constants, and multiply 2 times 3 times 5. Now you're going to take your variables. Your variables are exponent 1, r exponent 1, and there's no more r's, so r to the first power plus 1. S, you're adding all your exponents. 1 plus 2 plus 3. Now you simplify. So you don't leave your answer like this. You need to simplify by using the calculator. You can take 2 times 3 times 5 in the calculator. You can do it in your head. If you use a calculator, you put all 3 terms together. 2 times 3 times 5, exactly the way it is on our paper. You're going to get 30. 2 times 3 is 6. 6 times 5 is 30. So this piece goes to 30. R is squared, 1 plus 1. S, 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 3 is 6. So s to the 6th. 30r squared, s to the 6th power. Number 19. 2 things you have to do. So here you have y to the 5th times y to the 3rd. So you can do that piece first. For multiplication, you add your exponents. So y to the 8th power divided by y to the 4th power. Now you apply the division rule, and now you subtract your exponents. For division, you subtract your exponents. So you should get y to the 4th power. All right, number 20. Now you have variables to represent your numbers, so there's two ways you can apply. Same thing, very similar to number 19. So you're going to take, when it's multiplication, you're going to add the exponents. When it's division, you will subtract the variable. So x is the base, you will add your exponents, and then subtract the denominator. So here is an example of how this applies. Number 21. 21's a word problem. So here you're going to solve and show your work, then write your answer on the blank. So 21, the width of the rectangular mirror is 8a, the length is 6a. What is the area? Area equals length times width, so here you're going to multiply 8a times 6a. When it's multiplication, you multiply the constants and add the exponents for your variable. So you're adding the exponents for 1 plus 1. So here, 8 times 6 is 48, a squared. So 48a squared is the area. Number 22, find the volume of a cube whose side measure is 5x to the 4th, y to the 1st power. So volume is taking the side and cubing it. So we're going to take this side, 5x to the 4th, y to the 1st power, and we're going to take all of this and cube it. When we are cubing it, it is the power to a power rule. So here we are going to distribute the exponent and multiply your exponents with each term. So 5 to the 1st power times 3, x to the 4th power times 3. Then you're taking y to the 1st power times 3. So you can put this piece in your calculator, or you're going to do 5 times 5 times 5. So 5 exponent 3, because exponent 1 times 3 is 3, 5 to the 5th power is 125, x to the 12th power when you multiply, and y to the 3rd power. So 125 x to the 12th, y to the 3rd is volume. 23. Now for 23, it says the area. This is the area. Find the width of the rectangle if the length is 6x squared, y to the 3rd. Now we are given the area, so that's 36x to the 5th, y to the 5th. You are given length, you don't know what the width is, 6x squared, y to the 3rd, and you have to figure out what the width is. So the only way you can do that is by dividing. So you're going to divide 6x squared, y to the 3rd. You're going to divide 6x squared, y to the 3rd. When you divide on both sides, it's going to cancel on the right, and now you just have to solve on the left like we have been in the past. So you're going to take 36 and divide it by 6. You're dividing those numbers. That is 6. When you look at your variables, you're going to subtract your exponents. So 5 minus 2, x to the 5th minus 2. You're subtracting y to the 5th minus 3. So you should get 6x to the 3rd, y squared as your final answer. And this is the width. Number 24. It says the volume of a rectangular prism is, so this is your volume, 70 x to the 9th, y to the 7th. Find the length of the prism if the width and the height are given. So volume equals length times width times height. If you're working backwards, you're going to divide, but you're going to divide by the product of these length of the width and the height to find the length. So length equals 70 x to the 9th, y to the 7th, divided by 5x squared y to the 3rd times 2x y to the 3rd. So it's not just one step and divide like we did in 23. Since it's multiplication of 3 terms, you're going to multiply by the in the denominator first. So here you do nothing with 70x to the 9th, y to the 7th power. Oops, I wrote that a little big. Divided by, you need to multiply. So you're taking 5 times 2, 10. Then you're taking x, and you're adding the exponents. 2 plus 1, x to the 3rd. Now you're taking y to the 3rd and adding the other exponent. So y to the 6th. Now we can apply the division rule. So here we're going to take 70 and divide it by 10. 70 divided by 10 is 7. So 7. X, you're going to subtract the exponents. 9 minus 3, x to the 6th power. Y, you're going to subtract the exponents. 7 minus 6, y to the 1st power. 7x to the 6th, y to the 1st power is your final answer. Now, when we look at this, we're going to finish off number 25. A circle has a radius of 4x to the 6th, y to the 3rd. The area of the circle can be found using A equals pi r squared. So pi is a number. We're not going to change pi. R is going to be our 4x to the 6th, y to the 3rd, and we're just going to substitute that into the formula. So area equals pi, substitute in the radius, so we're going to put in 4x to the 6th, y to the 3rd power, and all of this is going to be squared. So when you look at this, it's going to be power to a power. So you're going to take pi and leave it alone, and you're going to take 4 to the 1st power and multiply it with 2. So 4 is going to be squared. X, you're going to take 6 times 2. You're multiplying your exponents here. So 6 times 2 is 12, and y to the 3rd power times 2 is 6. All you do is simplify from here. You're going to leave pi the way it is. 4 squared is 16. X to the 12th power, y to the 6th. Another way to write it is 16 pi x to the 12th, y to the 6th power. This is the area of the circle. And you're done.